All right, David, 8 days away from the NHL trade deadline as we take a look at some of the names on our trade watch board here on the fourth period presented by Upper Deck. Let's start in Vancouver and Ben Hankinson making some news over the last couple of days, talking about his clients, Brock Boeser and Luke Schenn.
And he's allowed to do that because he's been given permission to talk to teams to help finagle, facilitate, orchestrate, whatever you want to call it, a trade involving both Luke Schenn and Brock Boeser, likely to be separate moves, although there was some talk with Calgary on a combo deal. But look, both of these guys have moved up our trade watch list. Luke Schenn has been sent home. Everyone's just waiting to see what happens there, Irf. And it sounds like there's some type of deal in place. It's just kind of waiting to see how the money all works out, and they're trying to finalize that. With Brock Boeser, it's a matter of finding the right location. And is Vancouver willing to retain a lot on those contracts? You're in that backyard, or if I might as well ask you, what the heck is going on with either of these two players? We know that Schen's getting moved because he's been sent back. But is there anything closer on the Boeser front?
I don't think so. I think if that move is going to happen, it's going to take a lot of work, and the work is going to have to be from the Canucks side, and that's retaining salary or taking a bad contract back from another team. So that's a move that, look, crazier things have happened, but that's a move that I think gets pushed further down their priority list to the summer. But as you mentioned, Luke Schenn, obviously some teams definitely interested. Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs, where you are, teams that have definitely showed some interest in Luke Schenn. But as you mentioned as well, he has been sent home. He is skating on his own. The team returns and will be here over the weekend. They play the Bruins on Saturday. So we'll see what happens there. But an interesting time, definitely, around the Vancouver Canucks right now. Let's go to one of the guys that everyone right now probably has number one on their board, and that's Timo Meier.
Yeah, and it sounds like you were getting a lot more activity in terms of trade discussions. Doesn't necessarily mean something is imminent or going to happen today, tomorrow, or whatnot. But teams have definitely engaged in trying to speed up this process. And San Jose is just basically sitting there going, okay, give us what you got. Like, give us your offers. It's time. We got 7, 8 days to go before the deadline. If you want to make this happen, and if you want to talk to his agent, we got to come to terms on what an agreement is going to be here. So we know New Jersey is very much in the mix on this. It sounds like Holtz and a first round pick are part of a package, but it also sounds like San Jose has asked about Dawson Mercer. So that may change things a little bit with respect to New Jersey. We also know Carolina has upped their efforts recently with respect to interest in Timo Meier. And we'll kind of see where that goes. It'll include a first round pick, but can they make other pieces work? He's the difference between Timo Meier and so many other guys out there. He's controllable. He's an RFA. So you're not
Yeah.
just getting this guy as a pure rental. Some teams like New Jersey want to figure out a contract now. So they got to figure out term and then talk to his agent. Some teams like Carolina, whatever. They'll kind of go with the flow. Add Vegas to the mix. I've got to imagine there are a few other teams. We're hearing St. Louis. I think Edmonton might be poking around, although that might be a short-term kind of fix. And a few other teams that are out of the race view this guy as a potential to fit down the road. So it's not just the playoff contenders that like Timo Meier. There are a few that are outside of that race that would like to get their hands on him too.
To the Midwest we go. Chicago, the Windy City. What's the latest with Pat? Actually, wait, never mind, David. There are
Uh,
some other players on that team.
yes,
Jake McCabe.
that's right. All the attention is on Patrick Kane, but yeah, Jake McCabe. Look, on Wednesday when the Chicago Blackhawks acquired Nikita Zaitsev, basically eating his contract for a second and fourth round pick from the Ottawa Senators, there was a lot of noise that Jake McCabe was the next guy to be moved, or was the next domino to fall in Chicago's little game that they've got. There's a lot of interest in McCabe. They're going to retain, or it sounds like that Chicago is willing to retain salary on McCabe's deal. He's got 2 more years left on his contract after this season, $4 million cap hit. There is interest in this player, and it sounds like it's getting close. Sam Lafferty is another player that we just added to the board that is also generating interest. But McCabe, it looks like it's a matter, according to people I've talked to close to the team, of when, not if, he will be moved ahead of the deadline. So we'll be keeping tabs on that one.
Final one for us for this one, David. Dmitry Orlov.
Yeah, an interesting one that's now crept onto the board. He was just recently added because Washington wasn't really sure what they were going to do, depending on their playoff positioning. And while they're still in the race, Brian McClellan is now willing to listen on some of his pending UFAs. That includes Orlov, throw Lars Eller in that mix too. But Orlov is a guy primarily that's getting more attention because contract talks haven't gotten anywhere. So do they take the chance and move him and continue to hope that they can stay in the playoff picture, that's basically what's going to happen for the Washington Capitals if they get the right offer for Orlov. Physical type of player, not your offensive kind of guy, but more your stay-at-home physical guy, and a left shot. So if a team like LA, for example, loses out on Chychrun, because we know they're out on Gavrikov, he seems to be going to Boston, Orlov could be an option for the LA Kings too.
David, thank you very much for this. It's our favorite time of the year, trade-related reason season, as we approach the final weekend before the NHL trade deadline.